Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. So today I wanted to talk about a happy piece of news that demonstrates that in some small way, consumers may actually have some sway over what it is that automakers are doing. On this channel, you hear a lot about automakers that spend tens of millions of dollars on videos to convince you that independent mechanics are arists that are going to try to break into your house. We hear about subscription services for things like seats, and that can blackpill a lot of people into believing that we really are moving towards a dystopian future where the customer really doesn't have a say in how things are, because once one manufacturer starts doing it, saves money or makes more money and gets away with it, they all do. And this is a happy article that came from slate.com that really demonstrates that this may not be the case. By the way, for any of you who are interested, there's this thing with Brave browser that I find absolutely amazing, where instead of seeing, check this out. So you could either see this, which is a lovely basic page, or you can view the original where you have banner ad, the bullshit Europe cookie warnings and nonsense like this. So yes, Brave browser, loving the features that I get with Brave browser. Anyway, that being said, the glorious return of an old school car feature. Automakers are starting to admit that new car technology didn't work out. Volkswagen, which owns Porsche, has acknowledged that customer feedback led it to drop its much-loathed steering wheel touch controls that were nearly impossible to use without looking down from the windshield. And executives have suggested adding more buttons to its future EVs. And I think this is a step in the right direction, because people don't like the concept of not being able to feel around. When you're in a car, typically you tend to want to look out the windshield and make sure that the person in front of you is not braking really hard, make sure a pedestrian's not walking in front of you. You don't want to be looking down, because instead of a tactile button that you could feel with your finger, there is a touchscreen button that requires you look at it. This is something that used to be common sense that is unfortunately no longer common. The touchscreen pullback is the result of consumer backlash, not the enactment of overdue regulations or an awakening of corporate responsibility. Again, consumers actually had something to do with this, which is cool. Many drivers want buttons, not screens, and they've given car makers an earful about it. Auto executives have long brushed aside safety concerns about their complex displays, and all signs suggest that they would have happily kept doing so. But their customers are revolting, which has forced them to pay attention. And yes, there is nothing more frustrating than when a Tesla stand tells you, "Why don't you use the voice commands?" And then you go to use the voice command and you say, "Turn on windshield wiper." The screen says, "Turn on windshield viper," like the Dota hero, and then it doesn't understand your command, and the windshield wipers don't turn on. It would be really nice to have an actual button that turns the windshield wiper on, rather than having to look down or use voice commands. And don't get me started on that garbage that is auto windshield wipers. Sang-Yap Lee, head of Hyundai Design, said the new model deliberately uses physical buttons and dials for many of the controls, specifically air conditioning and the sound system. Lee said this is because the move to digital screens is often more dangerous, as it often requires multiple steps and mean drivers have to take their eyes off the road to see where they need to press, which again is a piece of common sense. And I wish that Hyundai had gotten into a lot of the EV stuff a little sooner. Maybe a majority of the EVs on the road would not be IKEA desks with iPads attached to them. My favorite part of this is the quoting of a New York Times opinion piece. In a 2022 New York Times piece titled "Touchscreens in Cars Solve a Problem We Didn't Have," J. Caspian Kang wrote, "I can think of no better way of describing the frustration of the modern consumer than buying a car with a feature that makes you less safe, doesn't improve your driving experience in any meaningful way, saves the manufacturer money, and gets sold to you as some sort of necessary advance in connectivity." Because that's the idea. The idea is to tell the consumer, look, this is advancements in technology. It looks more modern, just like a subscription is somehow an advancement in technology over actually owning property. When in reality, the reason for doing this is that screen in the car probably cost $50 to $150, maybe even less in the case of Tesla, because for a long period of time they were not even using automotive-grade screens, which would result in pieces of them melting off and bubbles on the screen, along with a number of other bugs that you can read about in this particular article. This is not done because it is better for the consumer. It's done to save money. Don't get me wrong, there were many times in a vehicle where I would prefer to have a touchscreen when scrolling through certain things to turn on my windshield wipers, my air conditioning, or change the music that I'm listening to. Ugh, not really. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that people who've been bamboozled are finally starting to fight back in large enough numbers that companies are going to have to stop making anti-consumer decisions? Or do you think this was just a one-off in the fall down the mountain of dystopian tech future? That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.